In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to put any 3D object into DaVinci Resolve, and then using that object to create these fantastic transitions for your content. My name's Dan, you're watching DanVinci, and let's start editing. If you're worried that you're going to find this a little bit challenging, I honestly want to say this before we start. It's a lot more easy than you might think. Now, things can get hard if your scan isn't very good. That's why I suggest you scan your object several different times, but we'll get onto that in a second. This video is going to venture into different softwares. I'm going to go outside of DaVinci Resolve. What? DanVinci? Using Blender? Using Polycam? What? Now, don't worry, these softwares are free, so you don't have to pay anything. This video is entirely free, and I believe if you have the free version of DaVinci Resolve, you can do this too. How amazing is that? Now, the two key softwares you're going to need are Polycam and Blender. Not that, but Blender. So Polycam is an app that you can install. I've got it on my iPhone. I don't know if it's on Android. It probably is. And basically, it's just a 3D scanning app which uses either the LiDAR, depending on which mode you're in, on your iPhone, or just uses motion tracking alongside photo scanning to create the 3D image that you're scanning. So here I am scanning my brother's car. I looked like an absolute madman running around the car park, but as you can see here, I'm in space mode, not object mode. I found in object mode with what was such a big object, it struggled. So I used space mode, which I believe uses the LiDAR. And then I just walked around my object, scanning it like so. Now, I'd suggest you do this 3 or 4 times, just so you have options, because sometimes scans come out absolutely beautifully and sometimes they just come out crap. So it is a bit of a luck game depending on how good your lighting is, how big and small your object is. Yeah. Then what you want to do when you're happy with your scan and it's processed, you want to download the file, specifically a GLTF file. Then export this to your Google Drive, open up your computer with your Google Drive open, and there you'll have your scan file. So now we need to download it. Okay, cool. So I've got the car scan right here. It's a zipped file, so I'm just going to unzip that now. Extract all, lovely. So now we've got that file. Now, weirdly enough, we need to jump into Blender, which is a first on this channel, very much a first. So obviously just install the latest version of Blender, it doesn't really matter. And if you have no Blender experience at all, you will find this extremely scary, as do I still, and I've used it a bit. But that's fine. When you open it up, you'll have a little square and a little camera in the corner. Just ignore it. You don't need to do anything really. Go into File, go down to Import, then go to your GLTF file. Then you want to go and find your scan here, I believe. Yep, there it is. Then we want to import. There we go. We've got the shape of the car. Now, there is a lot here that is wrong. That blob there wasn't it there, and obviously we don't want the ground. That's fine. And also it's just grey. So if you go up here, you can change the actual like textures here, and you can see the car itself. It is a bit rough. You're never going to get a perfect scan, but in motion you won't see this. So on your screen now will be the finished transition, and because I've disguised it with motion blur and because it's just part of the transition, you can get away with a bit of the jankiness. Looking close up, you can see how janky this really is. Obviously you can get better scans if you just happen to have a LiDAR scanner, then you can do this properly. But I don't, and most of you won't, so use your iPhone. Cool, so how do we get rid of the ground? Now I want to start by saying there will be some of you who are absolute Blender experts and will have lots to say about the techniques that I'm about to use. So please don't crucify me in the comments. I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to Blender, sorry. So if we exit object mode in the top left here and go into edit mode, you'll see our actual individual vertices, I believe. I don't know if they're called that. And then what we can do is, you can see the car. If we hold Alt on our keyboard and click on the scroll wheel and move the mouse, you can see in all different directions the car, like so. So what I want to do is delete all of this stuff. So what we can do is just highlight it like so, click delete vertices, and we want to do this various different times. Now I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, and if again you're a Blender expert, yell your advice in the comments. But basically I'm just deleting the vertices and removing them like so. As you can see, we've got rid of all of that rubbish. And what I'm going to do is do that exact thing over and over again until we've just got the car. And then we'll export this and put this into DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so I've cut out all the vertices and I'm back in object mode and I'm happy with the export export that I've got. Now it is a bit janky, there are issues with it, like down here, and it looks like it's having a bit of a stroke, but we're not really going to see this, and you'll see what I mean later on. So let's export this little mesh that we've got from Blender and put it into DaVinci Resolve. So what you want to do first, you want to go File, Export, FBX. This is going to be the mesh, and then we're going to export the texture. The texture is basically just the skin of the model. Basically, we export the mesh, the body, and then we also export the texture, which is the skin, and then reapply them together in DaVinci Resolve. So let's export the body first. So let's export FBX. It'll open up this Blender file view, and what we want to do is go and save it where we want. So I'm just going to export that now. Now we want to go into UV editing in the top, and then we want to go down to here and just click on our texture. And as you can see, it'll look like a squashed pancake, our texture, but that's absolutely fine. That's what we want. Then what we want to do is go to image, and then we want to click save as, and then save it again, probably in the same place as where you save the mesh or the body, whatever you want to call it. Cool, so I saved the image. Now we can just forget about Blender. That's it, scary stuff done. Back to good old familiar DaVinci Resolve. Cool, so I'm in the edit page now, and I have two different clips. And what I'm going to do is transition between the two. So the first one is this sign here, and then the second one is the actual car itself. And it's actually quite a really cool shot with all the lights turning off in the car park. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select these two clips, right click and click new compound clip. I'm going to just make this into one clip. I'm just going to call it car shot, doesn't really matter for this instance. So what we're going to do now is jump into Fusion. So this is where things might get a little bit scary, but if you follow along step by step, things shouldn't go too far wrong. My idea here is I'm going to put the car in a sort of similar sort of position to this car, and then have it fly in and match the sort of framing as this shot here. So what I want to do first is I want to control space and search FBX, and we want FBX Mesh 3D. Here it will just open up the file view. What it's wanting is that FBX file that we exported in Blender. So let's go find that now. There it is, lovely. Open. Now, obviously nothing will happen, but if you click 1 on your keyboard and zoom out, so at the minute, what it's doing is taking the actual shot of this shot as texture, which is not right. There you go. So we now have the body of the car in Resolve. Brilliant. Then we want to do control space and search replace, and we want replace material 3D. Then what we want to do is go into our file explorer, find our texture. In my case, it's a load of Ghibli words, but if you've named it something, then good on you, you're more organized than me. And then we want to just drag the output out to that. Then if we click 1 on our replace material, we will see our 3D model of the car in DaVinci Resolve, just like that. I know I'm a genius, but sometimes I scare myself at how much of a genius I am. Sorry if I sound like I have a cold, it's because I do. Cool, then what we want to do is control space and search transform 3D, and we can move this around. Then we can do render 3D as well. And in a minute, the car's in the middle of the shot, so it's not really a big problem. Drag render 3D over to our material 1 so that it's placed on our shot. And then if we do between transform 3D and render 3D, if we just search camera 3D, and then we want to click on the render 3D, go down to render type in the inspector, go down to hardware renderer so we can switch it and add some focal blur and motion blur if we want it later on. And then I want to go and click 1 on this merge 3D, and then we can click on the camera. And you can see if we move around holding Alt and clicking down on the scroll wheel, we can move around and we can see our camera within the car. That's why it looks like this. So if we just move the camera using the little arrows, drag it along, there you go, look at that, perfect, right? Now again, it looks janky. You can obviously make it more smooth and fix your model in Blender. There are tutorials on that. I'm not going to go into too much detail on that in this video though. Let's move the car so it matches our sort of shot here, something like that. Look at that. It's so cool to just have a digital car that I can just go woo, 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 woo. Just move it around whatever I want. It's pretty cool. It's actually lined up pretty well. This almost never happens, I must say. Right, move it there. So basically the knack is just to sort of line it up with your object as close as you possibly can. It doesn't have to be perfect. When the motion is happening so quickly, the viewer's mind will just join the dots. So it doesn't have to be exact. Although, weirdly enough, I mean, if I go into the merge here and just bring down the blend, I mean, it's almost there. Bit too big, hang on. Let's just bring the scale down a bit more. That's really impressive. That's really, really good. So look, if we go on the blend now, real car, fake car, real car, fake car, real car, fake car, real car, fake car, real car. Can you tell the difference? I can't. It's definitely not, you know, much more distorted and bright. That's pretty sick though, come on. Now, obviously the colors here on the texture itself or the skin of the car are a little bit off. So as you can see, it's a lot brighter. And what you can do if you want to just sort of correct this a little bit, it won't make it perfect, but it will get it a little bit closer. If you click on the texture itself, click control space and search color corrector, and you can make some minor adjustments just to get it a little bit closer to the real thing. Cool, so I've got it a bit closer. Obviously it's not going to be exactly the same, but that's fine. Now what we want to do is actually animate this, and this is where the fun comes in. Now this is up to you entirely. Let's go to the beginning of our timeline here. Let's find the cut-off point where the actual shot cuts to the next shot. Right, so it's around here. So the frame in which it cuts for me is frame 203. Right, cool. So that is where I want this car to be at that exact point. What I want to do is go to the transform, and I want to go to the frame before, like this, and then I want to make keyframes on pretty much every value because I don't really know where this is going, but there you go. Something like this. Then what I want to do is go probably to sort of frame 90 here, sort of halfway through the shot, and I want to move it around. Let's move the car around a bit, something like this. And what you can do is clicking one on the merge node is you can adjust it manually in this space as well if you really want to. I'm going to click on the transform here for the car, move it further away from the camera so it appears smaller. There you go. And what I'm going to do is try and match it up with this car here. So something like this. Brum, brum. Okay, so now the keyframes are created, let's have a little look at it. There you go, so it's a bit janky at the minute, that's fine. We're going to make this better, and there's a few things that we can do. So let's go into the spline by opening up right here, and let's just open up all the keyframes by clicking this button here, and we can see everything nice and easily. So those are our keyframes right there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to select them all, click S on my keyboard to create an ease in and an ease out. You can otherwise click this button here. Click T, and then you can move and adjust all of these keyframes as long as they're selected, like so. Now I'm going to adjust this S curve and make it more of a C. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the ease in all the way down to 0. This is going to be really abrupt and fast, and that is the intention. Now I might move the keyframes closer together to speed up this animation just to hide the jankiness of the mesh. So what we want to do is I've opened the keyframes in the top right corner. Clicking on the 3 dots, we want to click show only selected so that the keyframes on this transform are the only ones we see. And let's just zoom in on these keyframes here, and I'm going to bring them right the way in. There you go. Look at that. At the moment of impact, so here, let's go to our merge node, click on settings, go down to blender, go down to blend, not blender. And then click keyframe, and then we want to go to 1 frame ahead to 203 where the next shot begins, and bring it right the way down. That way, when we put this in motion, it seamlessly blends. And would you look at that? Really, really nice. Now, another thing you can add is a bit of motion blur. Now in the 3D space within DaVinci Resolve in Fusion, motion blur is a little bit different to then just turning it on in the transform node. See, you don't have it in this vector. What you want to do is go into the camera settings. So what we want to do is go into render of 3D, not the camera settings, well, sort of the camera settings, the render of 3D settings, but they are the camera settings. It's confusing, we'll ignore it and just move on. So we want to go into settings, motion blur, and then I want to just crank this all the way up because we want to hide that jankiness. So now I'm just rendering that in place just to see how it looks. At the minute, this is what the shot looks like. So the final thing that I would add here is some camera shake. So let's jump back into Fusion. On our node tree here, let's control space, search camera, and then we want camera shake. Then from here, we want to go into the inspector, go to edges, make sure they are on the mirror, and then we want to find the moment of impact, which was 203, and we want to go just before, so 202, bring the overall strength all the way down and speed, create some keyframes like so, and then go to the frame, next frame, and then bring it all the way up like so. Also want to add a little bit of motion blur, just a tad, don't want to do too much. We want to go a few frames ahead, maybe something like that, and then bring the overall strength down and speed. Then we want to go into the spline, closing the keyframes, and I want to click on show only, so we've got the camera shake selected, click that, and you will see our keyframes. I want to select these two, click S to create a nice ease in and an ease out, click T to bring up the ease in and the ease out controls, and then adjust it so it looks a little bit like this. Really aggressive to begin with, and then tails off. And then once we render this, we can take a look at this. It might need a little bit of a tweak with the keyframes to fit my personal preference, but just go ahead and do what you like, what you think looks good. Now that looks sick. Now I'm going to make some really minor changes to the keyframes, not a lot, and then I'm going to animate the little cartoon car out the way so that the Sayat can actually slide in the actual frame. And if you want to know how to object remove things and animate them, I'll link some videos down below that are relevant. Anyway, that has been quite a long video, and it's been very hard on me because I'm ill. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I was clear and haven't rushed it too much. If you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. All of the assets for this video will be in the description in a Google Drive folder, so you can follow along exactly as I have if you want to. But anyway, my name's Dan, you've watched DanVinci, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.